Hello. Chris here with another episode of the Make It podcast. And this is an Indie Talk week. And that means I have not Nicholas Buggs, but actor, writer, and comedian Jessica Anderson here with me. Jessica, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm so glad to have you here guest hosting while my good buddy Nick is under the weather. We wish him well.
Yeah, I'm so sorry he's feeling ill, and I am grateful that you're having me on here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I don't know what's wrong with Nick. I think that he has an allergy to me. I think that's what, like whenever he has to be on the phone with me, he kind of gets a little bit under the weather. For what I kind of get it. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if he has enough woosahs, then suddenly he has the energy to converse with me. But you keep the energy. You're good to go. So like, I'm feeling good about this.
Well, good.
Yeah. So do you want to, I think just for the audience to contextualize why I might have you on as a guest host on Indie Talk, can you kind of give the audience a deeper sense of who you are and why you're here?
Well, it's, I was thinking about this earlier today. I was like, Chris and I have such like a funny like map of knowledge of each other and friendship. And it's oriented online mostly. I've
always sort of appreciated the power and scale of the internet. And, for me and you, I think it was just me seeking out creative people that were around me in the vicinity and people that other people were sort of tagging. Like the algorithm does so much work for you. So they'll say, Jessica Anderson liked this too. And then I would find out, okay, Jessica Anderson likes Yeba. She likes Jacob Collier. She likes... So I just kind of was like, who is this person that likes all the same shit I like?
I love that. No one's ever mentioned those two, to me, about me. I love that. It's so funny.
Yeah. It's like the algorithm kind of gives you away. And I'm always worried about that too. Like you never know what notification a social media network or an application is sending to the other party.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been doing
which
this.
is kind of messed up.
It's so messed up. I mean, I have no idea how expansive all that is. I could never articulate it. I have so little knowledge, but I know it's happening, we all know it's happening. There is so little coincidence on the internet anymore. It's like, and I feel like there was like a 3-year period or something. I'm like an arbitrary number, but it's like where we were like, oh, my phone has been listening to me. It's like, or like, isn't it weird that like this popped up when we were talking about that? And then like overnight it turned into, oh no, it's listening to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's actively involved. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about stuff tonight, and that's going to be all the notifications we get as soon as we open up any app on our phone.
I know. I don't even know how to make it stop doing that. People know in the world. I've not met them. I don't know who they are.
It's super obscure too. Like sometimes I will hop on Twitter and I'll go, they have a section like for you, and then they have a section called trending. So one's trending just for you, things you're interested in that they think you're interested in, or that Twitter thinks you're interested in. And then one is trending. And on the for you page, you can mention something so obscure and it shows up, and you're like, there are actually 11,200 people in the globe tweeting about this. How is this possible?
Yeah. And then if you're not careful, it will become your identity. I now know all these really intricate eyeliner designs, and I'm like, why the fuck do I need to know that? You know what I mean?
Do you ever try to trick it?
Oh, all the time. I'm like, I'll like something, and then I'll be like, I want more of that stuff. And then it'll pop up and I'm like, great. I don't actually want to see that. That's not entertaining to me, but educationally, I need to know these things,
Yeah.
Because if I keep liking stupid like I'm saying, if I keep liking stupid skincare videos, it's like, that's all I'm going to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now you're in the skincare vacuum. Well, sometimes I'll just put in really obscure things that I'm not interested in, just so that, that a profile is built on me that's completely inaccurate. Like, tell me if you think this is psychopathic or not. I don't like to give my actual birthday in forms on the web. Do you do that too, or do you always give your correct birthday?
I'm trying to think of in what capacity you mean. Do you mean like when you sign up for like Instagram when they ask for your birthday and stuff like that?
Anything that asks for your birthday. Like, it could be Facebook, it could be IG, it could be like any type of service or form. Like, if it's not government, and maybe even if it is government a little bit, I just like, why do you need to know my birthday and birth year?
I don't think that's psychopathic. I think that's probably very smart and like very like you're like taking into account all of the things that could be used for that. But like for me, I'm like, I have a pretty I wouldn't say it's a shitty birth date, but it's like, also, can I cuss on this thing? I'm so sorry. I've just been
sure. We're all adults here.
Okay, great. But it's like my birthday is April Fool's Day, and so it's like growing up, it's like they say Friday the 13th is the most unlucky day of the year, and I would propose April 1st to be the most unlucky day of the year, because people they do things and they think it's like, oh, well, I'll make a joke, and it's actually like a high risk like death scenario. You know what I mean? And so like anytime I give the internet my birthday, I'm like, well, you know what, Snapchat, you can send me a stupid video on my birthday. I don't care. I'll take it. Let's lighten this day up a little bit.
Yeah, because you might put 4-1, but there's no reason to put 4-1 in the year. Like,
that's true.
Like, a great way to trick social media is just to make it always think you're 17 or 18.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, I bet. Well, and it's like, why would if you could have a bunch of different accounts where you just like change the age, like you'd get so many different things, and you might be able to see into like the eyes of like different people in a way, like what they're getting exposed to.
That's my point. When the app thinks that you're 18 instead of 38, maybe it opens the world up to you in a different way.
Yeah. I mean, but like I don't even know why I'm like trying to like make like this a thing where it's like if I had a million accounts where I'm like 17 or like a 65-year-old man or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, don't you have to be active on it for it to like give you stuff, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can be active on it, but like, look, changing your age isn't just for old pervs.
Yeah.
It can be for us too. We can democratize this to our advantage also. It's not just for some old creeper to, look at pictures on the internet.
We too can be deceptive to the internet.
Yeah. Because you always hear those stories about those old guys, like 75-year-old guys who make 13-year-old girl profiles.
Oh, heard of it. I've lived it. I have experienced that. I know. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's not.
I'll break them down, man. I'll make them tell the truth. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not funny. It's funny, but not funny.
It's funny because I survived it. You know what I mean? Like, you get out of it and you're just like, whoa, who the fuck let me on the internet when I was that age? Like, wow, when it came out, it was like the Wild West. We didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, I don't think
13-year-old Jessica sitting in the other room on these stupid chats, and I'm just like, what's that mean? Just like crazy stuff. And I'm
see
like,
what I mean?
We just didn't know.
I don't envy parents in the next. Like, I'm very pro kid, but I don't envy the playbook parents will have to play by over the next 20 years.
Aren't there like parental guides on stuff? Isn't that a thing? I just don't even know.
Yeah, but what happens is it's the group think. If you have a kid that's in middle school or even younger now, and every one of their friends have Snapchat, you now have to weigh saying no because it's better for them or saying yes. And so if you say no, you put them in social peril at school. Mm-hmm. Right? You risk them being ostracized, odd man out kind of thing. If you say yes,
I've never heard of it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you risk them being sexualized and scandalized. So it's like, what do you, but you almost have to have like a coalition of parents who all agree no Snapchat for, like, no social media. I don't want to dog Snapchat alone, but it's because it's everybody. But anyway, do you want to mention just a couple of things you've been in recently? Because I know you did some theater and you've done web series, you've done a bunch of stuff. So I just want to make sure people can find stuff you've done and like verify why I think you're so great.
Oh, thank you. Sure. Okay. So I think the most recent projects I've been lucky enough to be a part of. My friend, PJ Brown, he's a director. Over the years, I've worked with him on music videos, specifically for Kip Moore and Maddie Poppy. Those are both musicians. And he wrote a feature. It was his first feature. And it was an indie feature. And he had a bunch of people from Nashville kind of get together. He lives in Charleston, but he had a bunch of people in 2021 get together and make this movie in 10 days. And he's been showing it to a few small groups in Charleston where he's at, and he's just really proud of it. And I'm really proud to be a part of it with him and with all the people in it that I really love. I just finished up, I guess it was a couple months ago now, I finished up a production. It was the U.S. premiere of the theatrical production of The Welkin by Lucy Kirkwood. It is a phenomenal play. I would recommend anybody just read it. The Welkin. It means the heavens.
Did not know that.
Yeah. That was a pretty indescribable experience. But I finished up that. And then I recently was on an episode as a co-star for this series on NBC called Young Rock. I got a quick little role as I don't really know what take they're going to pick, so it'll determine how desperate she is, but she's pretty sad in a couple of those takes. So she's just a sad little waitress that is doing her best to just make conversation at times. So I've got that. I'm excited. That group of people that I got to work with, some local actors, some Nashville actors, some LA.
They shoot that in Memphis, right?
They did, yeah. And I think they were there all season for this season. I don't know. I think the first season was in Australia. I don't know about the second, but the third one, it's been at Memphis. So that was a great experience. And then I'm currently working on a short film by my friend, Tori Mills. She's directing it and she's written it. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that. We're also having, I get to be a part of my community that are friends that some people I've worked with and some people I haven't. And we all get together and we're going to shoot this film in December. So big kudos to Tori. She's phenomenal. So I'm excited to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even more on the plate than I expected. That's pretty great. And this week has been pretty great. I feel like we've been blessed this week with a lot of really interesting content. Not necessarily indie film content, although there's a lot of that as well. But I think the two things that really stuck out to me was the Neil Brennan Blocks stand-up.
Yes. I'm so glad you reminded me of it because I see him on my feed all the time and I just sometimes things get pushed back, but I'm so glad you reminded me to watch it. And I did. And I'm just grateful for it because it was really wonderful.
It's so good. He's so smart and he's such a good writer. And it's different. I mean, it's almost intentionally theatrical, like a one-man show, almost like what Mike Tyson was trying to do a few years back, or did do, I should say. I don't want him to come over here and knock my ass out. I'm a fan of Mike Tyson anyway. That would be sad if he did that. And my only recourse would be to bite his ear off or something like that. But we also got the Dave Chappelle monologue, and this was like an extended monologue. And unfortunately, SNL is in a place right now where the skits just aren't. I don't know why some of the comedy pieces are so misaligned with what we think is funny today. But it's just, and I don't want to sound like a, get off my porch guy, but like it just was better in previous casts, years gone by. So now it's like the weekend update, the musical performances, and the monologue. And I thought the monologue made, because it was 15 minutes long, made this sort of an iconic episode that will live throughout history. And, immediately the feedback I got in my little circle was that, oh, that was awesome. That was classic Dave. It was fantastic. It was great. And then I hop on social and Twitter specifically, and I start to see like these little people taking jabs at the monologue. And it just feels very disingenuous. Like, I feel like if Dave gave that monologue 15 years ago, it would have been, let's nominate this monologue for Emmy. And it still might win an Emmy, Jess. But it feels like here, the funny thing about the juxtaposition is Neil co-wrote The Chappelle Show. And there are people dogging Dave for bringing back his Chappelle Show characters in the SNL episode. It's like, wait, Neil co-wrote that, right? Like those are half his characters too, in a way, right? But you're praising him. Reggie Watts in particular, him and Lon Harris jumped out at me. Reggie Watts, I'm going to read this tweet from Reggie Watts because to me, it like encapsulates everything. He writes, "Damn, Dave Chappelle. I hope you consider a different approach to your current social commentary. It's feeling joyless and lacking the enlightenment you used to inspire. I understand the idea of crossing the line, but there are many more subversive yet unifying ways to do so." So I read that and I was just like, was Neil Brennan stand-up joyless? At times it was. It's reflective. It actually ends sad, hopeful, but sad. Like it's a morose piece in general.
Yeah.
But no one's giving it that critique because they realize that's who Neil is and that's what he's done. And that was the point. But they're acting like Dave can't be joyless if there's no joy to be had for him in this. If it was meant to be, if it was meant to be addressed with a certain tone. And I just find it false. And you're welcome to disagree with me on this. And as a comedian, I know you might have a position on it, but I thought it was weird.
No, I appreciate you talking about it and telling me how you feel. And, and I listen, I'm not chilling with, Dave or Neil or, when Neil has that joke in his special about that group of people that he encounters at the, party or whatever. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I'm not in that circle, right. I don't do stand up too much anymore, but I've spent a lot of time, doing it in the past and research and all this stuff, but I don't ever pretend to know on a celebrity level what those people are going through. And to know, listen, I think what Dave did in that monologue, there's one sentence specifically that he found a way in a sentence to unite everyone. And I had to stop listening to it because I was like, oh, he made everyone the same just for a second. And I don't think it raised everybody up to this place. I don't think he brought everybody down. I think it was just right there in the middle and everybody was right there together. What Neil, I'm white. And so my relationship with Neil, I might actually be able to relate to what he's going through more so because he is also white. And so I also don't pretend to know completely where Dave's coming from whenever he does these things, because the craft that he brings to it, he honors that experience through his craft, which I think is so respectful.
Yeah.
And him just like but it's like both Dave and his work and Neil and his work both bring me to tears. So it's like,
yeah.
Why is that? Why, for me, it's like, I don't think one is ever above the other, because just as well as like they have their own unique experience. And I understand, I have my own unique response, but I can't say that like, well, one was much more important than the other or whatever.
Yeah.
But
what's wrong with celebrating both of them?
Totally.
Like what's wrong with saying that both these things were awesome and we got them both in the same week?
Yeah.
Like, like what's wrong? I don't understand it just makes me realize that I think, Dave's on the other side of an issue for some people, and it's still killing season for him. Like there are still like people who want to take their little shot and see if they get away with it and see like where the temperature of the listening audience is through comments and through replies. Like, okay, are they with me? Are they against me? Because I'm with you. Like, I don't know how, if you're Lon Harris, who I respect and like, and I've liked some of the stuff he's put out, or if you're Reggie Watts, like what part of it's not unified? Like, how do you say not unifying? I get maybe some of the joyless part, even though even I got tired of him slapping the microphone and like laughing at his own jokes so much, like, which is what Chappelle does. And if it weren't him and anybody else, people would be so pissed at that. Right. But he does it in a way that's like cool. So even I don't like that. So I don't mind him not laughing at his jokes that much in this monologue. The line that stood out to me where I thought this is something only Dave Chappelle can do is when he says, I live in Ohio with the poor whites. And so how much pressure must he have on him where the benchmark and the line for people to enjoy it or not enjoy it is that he's forced to make you feel joy and enlighten you. Like, imagine being on stage and that's like your bar. Like anything below enlightenment for your audience is a fail. Yeah.
No, and that's what he said.
Crazy.
I mean, that's how I interpreted what he was saying about like, I'm tired of talking to you like this.
Yeah.
Like that's what I interpreted from that was like, what a fucking load to carry. Like, and that's fucked up. Like,
oh, that's a great point.
And I
didn't think about that.
Yeah, and maybe that's not what he intended. I love that. What I took.
I think that's right, Jess.
But I just feel like, like he is a magnificent comedian, and I'm sure he's a magnificent community member. I cannot imagine that load like that he's got to take on in this way. And I guess I just sensed that in the monologue was just like, I'm sure he's fucking tired of that. Like, that's a lot. And that, I mean, like, I just, I really, really like Reggie Watts. I love
Me
Reggie
too.
Watts.
Love Reggie Watts.
And he has just been like, when I first discovered him, I was like, oh, well, this is what I want to do. Like, I don't know how to fucking play instruments or anything like that, but I was just like the joy at which that he ignites in people in this way that's like tantalizing and like goofy. And like, you feel like I've always felt like listening to him at times. I'm like, oh, I'm transported back to like childhood where I don't care the way that I laugh, or I don't care like why it makes me laugh. It's just like, I feel high almost sometimes after watching his medium pieces.
Yeah.
And being a part of me, it's like, but also like I follow Reggie on Instagram and I listen to a lot of what he has to say on there. And I really, really value what he has to say. Also, again, he's one person, with a ton of experiences like everybody else. But it's like, I guess what I hear whenever you read that tweet, because I'm not on Twitter, I don't follow any of that. So I don't totally know what everybody's got to say as far as their opinion. I've dodged it somehow. Maybe I'm being ignorant or avoidant. I don't know, but it just hasn't happened. But it's like Reggie, I think that there's been this thing in comedy as like it's like fallen over everything where it's like, it's the balance between cynicism and joy. and like igniting laughter. It's like there's always this level of cynicism that I think has to happen in comedy, or it's just not doing things in a way that like makes you giggle, it makes you laugh, makes you feel like lit up.
And it felt like there's like a code amongst comedians. Maybe I've always been wrong about this. You could tell me if I'm wrong or right about it, that like you guys just typically don't seem to shit on each other.
Oh, I mean, like I wouldn't say that at all.
I mean, not in public. I always thought that happened backstage.
Oh no, I mean, like
because you're already getting shat on by the audience at times, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, my experience, I've never been protected from that code. I would have liked to have been protected from that code, but I sure never signed anything. No, I don't. I've never experienced that necessarily, but I don't know. Listen, again, there are lifers like of comedy, of stand-up specifically in my life that are my friends, and I will never pretend to know as much as they do in that realm. But I will say that like as an artist, and I always think about like the places where these people live, these celebrities live.
Yeah.
And while I've only visited LA or New York or Ohio or any of those places, I just always like to remind myself of what their atmosphere is like every day. And that could be like, they have a certain, they live in a certain like income bracket, or it doesn't necessarily have to be geographic. It's just like, where are these people living at all of the time? It is not to exclude their realities or discount what they feel. It's just like, I always like to remind myself of that, because I think there are universal things that people talk about in art. Absolutely. And I think that's what we're talking about with these two, with Neil's show and Dave's monologue. But it's like, I always just like to remember, like, what would somebody that like has never had a voice say, like,
yeah.
And not to compare it or make it better or worse, but it's always just like, I don't know. Sorry. I feel like that's kind of like a tangent, but
we love tangents on the Make It podcast.
Okay. Well, good. Cause I got plenty of them. But I just like to remind myself that like people don't have, I like to remind myself that there aren't like 5 people in celebrity form that like have all the answers, or like there's not one person,
Yeah.
Because I think it's like a community effort. And I used to think that. I think we all do, like at a certain age, like whether it be musicians or other artists or, writers or whatever. It's like, we always put them up on these pedestals in a way that like, I think actually gets us through really hard adolescent times for some of us, and even into our 20s and things like that. And I think it pushes a lot of us, but it's like, no one has all the answers or the entire experience. And so I think it's really hard to like hold people to a place where you're like, oh, you should be leading people. It's like, no, I think you should.
Exactly.
It's like, you should be offering, I think, resources if you have them available to you. And also like, you should understand that like, that's, like, I'm not saying like, well, if you have this much money, then you should donate this much or anything like that. It's just like, I think the distribution of resources in our culture in general is really where the problem lies in a lot of ways of how voices get heard. And so, I just think it's a good reminder that like, hey, there are other voices that have a lot to say. And also these ones have really great things to say too, that we get to hear. It's like, what a gift that you can have somebody that's like lives next door to you that might have something really important to say, even if you don't agree with it necessarily.
Yeah. And look, to that extent, to that, like, just mentioned that I love Lon Harris, love Reggie Watts, just disagree with them on this.
Yeah.
And I don't have to say that those tweets were joyless and didn't enlighten me. I'm just saying I disagree with their take. But
totally.
But to your point, like, when you're an entertainer and it's not enough for you to entertain. And the other fact that I just want to bring up before we move on, because I'm sure we beat this to death, but it's like, I hate when people fake a thing, like when something is objectively good and then you gaslight us to say, here's your take, so that you're sort of veering left intentionally while everyone else goes right. That just gets under my skin.
Yeah.
Neil Brennan's piece was objectively great. Dave Chappelle's monologue was objectively great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to, we're going to talk about that in another case coming up here in a little bit, but I want to do something new. We have a new segment called Stuff You Don't Know About the Movie Business. And to do, it's a terrible name. So we'll come up with like a better name for this segment, but I want to bring in producer Papa Bear. And here's how it works. Papa Bear, you're going to, hey man.
Hey.
Yeah. You're going to give us, I guess, a question, and then me and Jess will try to guess the answer, and then you tell us if we're right or wrong, along with the audience at the end of this conversation. Okay, so with that, take it away.
You know, a lot of people are going to be flying, going to the airport. It's going to be slamming. But not everybody has to do that. There are at least 10 celebrities that can fly their own plane. So we know there's like 3 that everybody pretty much knows, like John Travolta's flying around.
You took my guess away. Go ahead.
In his 727. And then there's, of course, Tom Cruise. And everybody knows about Harrison Ford. He's had enough accidents.
Brutal. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
That's not on a lighter note, is it?
Yeah.
So can you guys think of at least 5 to 7 more, or at least 10 celebrities that fly their own plane? They're not all film celebrities, but most of them are. So think of 5 to 7 other people that fly their own plane.
I have a question, Papa Bear. You're saying that they are actually actively the pilot.
They have a license to fly.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So they're the flyer. They're not just flying on it.
They are the pilot.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So you have plenty of time to think of several.
All right. Well,
I can barely just talk about something at once. I can't talk and think about other things.
Papa Bear, before you go away, Papa Bear, can me and Jess combine? Like, if she gets 3 and I get 2, does that count?
Sure.
Jess, what do you think? I'm going to say my initial guess was going to be Drake, but then Drake's just like on the plane, not flying the plane.
That's a good guess.
Yeah, I thought so.
I want to say Antonio Banderas, and I don't know why.
Oh God, Antonio Banderas. Okay, let's write this down. Okay, you've got Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, which is so wrong as I say it, like as it comes out of my mouth. But hey, okay. Are we supposed to be thinking of this as we talk about other stuff? Or are we gonna brainstorm right now?
Yeah, let's brainstorm this right now. Let's just there's somebody in the audience that's laughing at us right now because the answer is so obvious.
Yeah, they know. I don't know. And they know.
He took away the ones that were obvious, like Harrison Ford and Travolta. But who's like Travolta? Who does Travolta hang with?
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton's not flying his own plane, Jess.
You don't think he got bored or something?
No, he gets people to fly him everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. It's a flex, though.
It is a flex. Celebrity that flies their own plane. Oh, Jeff Bezos.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
You got Antonio Banderas. I'm going to go Jeff Bezos.
The cowboy of the air.
Richard Branson.
See, you're just getting all the ones I would know. I'm like Nicki Minaj. Please,
Maybe.
for the love of God, Nicki Minaj.
Are there any celebrity black pilots? Like, is Morris Chestnut flying a plane and we don't know?
That's what I'm saying. Is this list like well collected, or is this just, are we thinking of like the famous ones? Because there might be people low key doing this.
But yeah, but there is kind of like the hint in it all is the money. Like for example, if you have too little money, Jess, then you can't be flying your own plane, right? Like you're not flying your own jet around. You're like going to like like an airport and maybe you're taking flight lessons or you don't have your own private jet that you're like flying around all the time. So I'm thinking like legacy superstar actor, like a Harrison Ford, like a John Travolta. And so I'm going to go with Sean Connery, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt. Those are so I'm writing those down.
You already said Tom Cruise.
No. He said John Travolta and Harrison Ford.
And Tom Cruise. He said Tom Cruise.
Did he?
Yeah.
I did.
Oh, damn you, Papa Bear. Okay, I'm sticking with Sean
what about,
Connery.
Ron Howard?
Oh, Ron Howard. Okay, we'll touch base with Papa Bear at the end of this conversation, but we're going to go with Antonio Banderas, Sean Connery, Jeff Bezos, Ron Howard, Richard Branson, Brad Pitt. They are flying their own planes. They have pilot license on a regular basis.
Okay, maybe add Tom Hanks later too, but maybe not. I don't know. Okay.
Okay. Oh, Tom Hanks. Yep. I'm writing that down too. Okay. Boom. I like this list. I feel good about it, Jess. So I kind of teased this earlier that we were going to talk about this other issue. And I know that this is all about Wakanda Forever. I know everyone's watched it. It did $180 million this weekend in the box office. Mm-hmm. Right. It's the box office kind of like you hope to get when you spend $1 billion on a movie. By the way, how much of that budget for Black Panther was branding and marketing? Probably 60%. Mm-hmm. It felt like. And so this is what we talk about when we talk to independent filmmakers about making sure they have branding and marketing budgets. You want to use the same cameras as a studio filmmaker. You want to use the same editing software. So you're using Avid, you're using Reds and Aries to shoot on, but you don't have even one line item for branding and marketing. And you know that studio filmmakers spending 35 to 60% of the entire production budget on P&A. It's like it makes my what's that mean?
Your brain explode?
Yeah. It makes my mind explode that we even have to evangelize that. Anyway, sidebar. Everybody watched Black Panther. The reviews are coming in. It's like half the people are saying it's like the best movie of the year. The other half of the people are saying this was nearly 3 hours long, too long, and it was about belittling men. And I want to, having not seen it yet, the one person around me that hasn't seen it, even though I had a screening on Wednesday for it and was completely boxed out by some woman who had a Wakanda party and bought up all the tickets, or used up all the seats, actually. I'm going to the side of this is a really good movie. And the reason why is the other side feels like they have an agenda. Like, oh, this is about, women jack. Well, I don't know if that metaphor goes, but the point is, this is about women feeling like giving themselves a clap, and they're going to eulogize, Chadwick Boseman, and they're going to they should have replaced Black Panther with like another Chadwick Boseman instead, and it's a woman now. And there are guys that are frustrated. I'm like, ooh, you kind of like put your bias on Front Street right there. It's kind of like when people get freaked out because there's a black Ariel.
Oh my God.
And it's like, yeah, but what's wrong with the black? What's wrong with it's only weird because the other Ariel was white.
Right.
Like if the movie just started with Ariel being black, are you saying the movie wouldn't be good anymore and it wouldn't be the classic that it is? I don't know. It's weird. Maybe not. So to me, it feels like a bunch of incel guys, bunch of like involuntarily celibate dudes are like, just another punch to us in the nuts, just another punch in the gut to us men out there that are working hard every day and we get
hard
it
on Reddit.
Yeah, on Reddit. Yeah, we get it. Women are in charge.
Like, what is up with you, bro? What is going on?
There's space for everybody. People talk about liking like equality and like sort of balance, but in the practice of it, like it's very disjoining for people. It's like it's very upsetting to people when everybody kind of actually gets a chance, or like everything can be seen. It's like, oh, I thought like in principle you like that thing, and then in reality you don't. I had a friend that used to like chain smoke, but he didn't want anybody to know. I was the only person that knew. So he would smoke and he would hide it. And then he would lecture my other buddy at the time, my roommate, about how shitty and ashamed he should feel for giving in to smoking.
He literally just spoke his inner monologue. That's what he just said to his friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like people are really like that. Like,
yeah, they are.
It's so crazy. Like, NIMBY? Do you know NIMBY? Like not in my backyard.
Oh, no.
Yeah, people are very, very NIMBY all the time. Like they want like this piece of the world to be solved and to fix a thing, but not in my backyard. like don't do it to me. Like it doesn't apply to me, or like don't put that housing community in my neighborhood, or however it might be. Mm-hmm. And you can like across the board, there's like NIMBYism that happens. So anyway, I go to see Black Panther. Congrats to Ryan Coogler and the whole team. 180 million. It's going to make a lot more money. That's huge. I go to watch it on Wednesday, Jess. Okay. I don't have a fucking seat. I can't sit down anywhere. And you know what really irritated me is I walked into an aisle where I thought there was an empty seat, because it was empty. And the lady was like, oh no, I'm saving this for someone. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, in my peripheral, two aisles up was this like chubby girl. I don't know why I said she was chubby, but she was. And I think it's because she was rude to me. And she gave me like the,
she swatted you
she
away?
dismissed me. She just like, get your ass out the way. Like, get your black ass out of the way. That's what she did. That's basically what that hand means, is get your black ass out the way.
Oh my God.
Now, I don't mean that in a racial way. I just mean where I grew up, that hand means that. So I was like, you don't have to, just chill out. She was so mad that she was going to miss the opening scene of the Wakanda. The Wakanda made people feel crazy. Like it's too much fervor. But I am glad, I'm happy for the movie. So anyway, my alternative at that point, once finding out I could not sit in this lady's safe seat and being swatted away by the young lady two rows up. So not knowing what to do, we went and watched Black Adam, which unfortunately had many open seats. So Black Adam wanted to do the box office that Wakanda Forever did. And I'd been told that Black Adam was a bad movie, right? And I watched it, and in my opinion, it's not great. Mm-hmm. But when we look at the reviews of it, I found something very, very interesting. And I've been really open about Metacritic being my favorite place to sort of look at reviews for movies, because it aggregates and scores every professional review of a movie. So you can have... I think Black Adam got something on the order of 50 professional reviews that span every newspaper and critic in the country, it feels like, or even the world. And it gets an aggregate score. So its aggregate score is 41 out of a total possible score of 100. That's called like a mixed review movie. So anywhere between 40, I think, and 59 is considered a mixed review movie, or maybe 55.
Hmm.
So it gets like, so most people didn't like it. But what I don't understand is how the San Francisco Chronicle gave it a 0. Their review was absolutely scathing. Can I just read a piece of this review to you?
Yes, please.
This is going to blow your mind. This is a mind blower. So the San Francisco Chronicle said, seriously, don't see Black Adam. Don't encourage this. I don't even want to admit that it's an actual movie, but assuming it is, it's the worst of the year and one of the worst I've ever seen. That's pretty brutal. And that was from Mick LaSalle from the San Francisco Chronicle. So making a movie is so hard, in my experience, that it is a bit demoralizing to get a review of 0.
Mm-hmm.
Like 0 feels unfair, right? Because it's just so hard to actually make
what on earth?
Yeah. Like how can you even give that score, right? So
no doubt.
All that aside, it's a 0.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Mick LaSalle thinks. That's what's going on. So we go to the top of the critic reviews, and this is from RogerEbert.com. I loved Roger Ebert when he was alive. I loved Gene Siskel when he was alive. I like both of those folks. Okay, so I respect Roger Ebert. He comes from the Chicago Sun-Times, I believe. If I'm wrong about that, someone correct me and tell me he's from the other Chicago newspaper. But here's what Matt Zoller Seitz, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, said from RogerEbert.com. They gave the movie an 88. Like, I don't know if Schindler's List got an 88. This says, directed by Yame Colette Serra, I hope I pronounced the first name correctly, and featuring a remarkable lead performance by Dwayne Johnson, the spiky and majestic Black Adam is one of the best DC superhero films to date. Now, how is this possible? How can there be an 88 from RogerEbert.com and a 0 from the San Francisco Chronicle?
I used to work for this doctor. I don't think this is going to apply necessarily. I'm going to say it anyway. I used to work for this doctor for a few years, and he was a good dude. And he said one time, he was like, you know what, Jessica, whenever you graduate from medical school, there's people at the top of the class and there are people at the bottom of the class. Like there are A's to C's getting sent out. Like it's not like everybody's fucking passed and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think of that, like what I was saying earlier, it's like, you gotta like evaluate the source, and then you gotta scan it through your own microcosm of experience and be like, what did I think? It's like, holy shit, I have an opinion. It's like all of these like critics. I don't know. I just like, I don't get into it in a way that like, it's like, I love academia. I think it's like a super, I loved being in university, like in college,
Ditto.
but I didn't enjoy paying for it, but like I loved being in it, and I loved learning from people that were like, they knew so much about what they do. But I think it's also about understanding that like you're learning from someone that, not always, but often you're learning from somebody that is teaching the thing, not making the thing.
Yeah.
So it's like with critics, I think it's funny because it's like I'm not saying every critic is like that, but it's like saying somebody that's like eating a lot of fucking spaghetti, but it's like they never have made spaghetti, and it's like, well, I like it. Well, it's like, yeah, well, if you put a shit ton of sugar in your spaghetti, it's going to taste good, but it's like is there integrity in it making it that way just because it tastes good? It's like, I don't even know what I'm saying. I just think that it's like important to like experience it yourself. I don't know. I think that stuff is so silly, and it's also like, it's like like news in a way too. So it's like they got to get like some sort of attention of being like zero. And it's like,
well, then they put it on your resume. Like they put the spaghetti eating on the resume. It's like Jessica Anderson. I've eaten 1,200 plates of spaghetti. Yeah, I once ate spaghetti. I once ate spaghetti in Naples.
Yeah. And let me tell you, whenever McDonald's was doing spaghetti for like a season there in the summer of 1996, best spaghetti I've ever had.
Wow.
Like,
I didn't even know that. I'm going to have to Google that to verify. I'm going to have to trust to verify on that. Okay, I was going to say. McDonald's spaghetti would be the most suspect thing of all time.
Yeah, unless it like never happens again and then no one can fucking verify it. And then and Naples is always second.
Well, but here's the thing, and here's where it gets a little weird. And so I feel what you're saying, and to a degree, like a large degree, I really identify with it because as a filmmaker, we don't want to admit that reviews matter, but they really do. Like we hate it, like, oh, we don't care what the reviews say. We're not here, to appease everyone. The whole line, the indie filmmaker producer line. There's a line we say, and it's a defense mechanism. Let's just face it, because the truth is there's so much competition for what to watch that people will lean on reviews to figure out should they watch this. And so the truth of the matter is that reviews actually matter quite a bit. Like you really need, your movie to be reviewed well. And so I just don't think any movie is a zero. But here's the thing. I don't think Black Adam was a good movie. Mm-hmm. I don't. And so I'm actually looking at this backwards where it's like, was RogerEbert.com paid for this? And if not, they are literally guilty of what Reggie Watts and Lon Harris were guilty of, which is like being divergent for the sake of being it, like being divisive for the sake of it, in the sense of like, okay, everyone's panning Black Adam. We're going to tell you it's the best movie ever made. We're going to tell you it's The Rock's, Dwayne Johnson's best performance of all time.
Yeah.
And it's like, just isn't.
Well, and I think that I don't totally like care about, listen, I've never been in a place like in my life career-wise where I like, and maybe I know that there have been local outlets to review things that I've been a part of, but it's like, I know this might sound naive and I don't mean to sound dismissive of it. It's like, but I just don't care about reviews, because reviews to me are different than opinions of like people, like actual people, because like you're saying,
but you're doing that indie film thing right now, Jess.
Totally. I think it's like there's like a lack of trust though to me, and like within outlets sometimes it's like you're saying, it's like, well, what, like again, what's the source? What's their initiative? What do they, like what's their whatever? And like they just have a bigger voice because of A, B, and C resources. And it's like, yeah, I am a naive indie filmmaker, and I am like okay with like being at a place in my life where I'm like, I just want to make my friends laugh, and I just want the people in my life to be inspired by what I make. And because I was watching, this might seem like a thought that everybody has ever had, but like it was remarkable to me and new, but it was like I was watching this film. It's a feature called After Sun. It's one word. And it's a director. It's written and directed by Charlotte Wells. She's in America now, but she's from Scotland. Mm-hmm. But I remember sitting in that theater, and it's been at the Belcourt Theater here in Nashville for a little while now, I think. But I was sitting there in the theater, and there were like, I don't know, like 15 people in this really beautiful theater, like this, and I was like, it moved me so much. I mean, I was driving home and I had to take a minute where I was like, it was just coming out. Like the tears were just falling out of my face. And
oh, wow.
I just remember thinking,
incredible.
It really, I mean, I don't know if everybody would have the same response. And listen, like, not all of us have healthy relationships with our dads. Okay. But, right. So I might be biased, but it's like, I think that having that having had that experience, having sat in that theater, I know that that filmmaker knows that that movie is in that theater right now. I know that. But the fact that I remember thinking Charlotte Wells is probably either in her apartment, having a meeting with somebody, talking at PR, just walking around in New York or wherever she's at. She's doing something right now, and she has no idea how little people are in here, how many people are in here, what every single person is thinking. She's just moving on. Like, she's just doing her life.
Yeah.
And I, for me, that realization was just so beautiful, because I was like, oh, I like what people think is so important. And I'm not naive. I understand from a resources perspective, you need to have good reviews and you want those things, but it's like, shit, if you're pleasing everybody, like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want to be a part of things like that. And I don't want people to have me like, I just don't think I think that like, that's also, I don't know. I think that's also what, like, not to get on a big fucking tangent about Marvel, because I don't honestly know enough about it to like know, but it's like, I think that that's like the sticky thing about it, right? Is that it pleased people so much for so long. And now it's doing this thing where it's like not pleasing people anymore. And people are like pissed off or surprised in it. And I could only theorize, because truly my lack of knowledge about Marvel, I should not even be saying these words, but it's like that. I don't, as far as like what people think, I thought about that. I was like, this movie meant so much to me. And this filmmaker isn't even thinking about that right now, probably. Not because they don't care, but because they got work to do. Like, there's always work to be done. And if you're making things, even if they're like big blockbuster shit, it's like, you know what, there's a team of union people on that set that like are fucking working their asses off. And like, I just think about that every time. I don't know. Maybe I'm being avoidant of the actual problem or whatever, if there is one, but I just like, I always try to like be like, you're like, Jessica, shut up. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. But it's like, I don't know.
No, like my pushback to you is that I don't think we should care about what people think. I agree with you on that. Like, that is, to me, that's yes. But it's not about what people think. We care about what critics think, like what one person, like one important person in film thinks. Because we have created a world where the person that doesn't do, but knows the history, has a perched position of power in the industry to drive revenue.
Yeah. But I think
so that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, ask a playwright if they want a good write-up in the New York Times. Like, they do. Like, they do. It's true. And if they don't get one, their play freaking fails.
Yeah, which is also something that I'm like, and I think like maybe what I maybe misspoke about was like, as far as like, I think Charlotte Wells actually probably cares a whole lot what people think, but I mean, I don't mean to like put this all on like her, but it's like, if I were her, I would totally care what people thought when they saw it. But like, in that very moment, I cannot think about all the places that this movie is being seen in the way that it's being perceived. Like, I just can't, like, it's your brain can't do it. And so I think sometimes with like reviews, I understand like that my limited knowledge of how that controls like the resources that you get now and in the future, and like how people see your work is so important. I've never been on a level where that's like ever been a conversation. But it's like, a part of me is like putting people up on a pedestal, like we were talking about earlier, of like what they like, them being like gatekeeping is like such a reality, and also something that can be debilitating if you give it too much power.
I see what you're putting. Yeah, because I feel that way too. Like, once you've done the work, once you've put it out there, at that point, you have to decide, just for self-preservation, that you're not going to read or listen to anything because it's done. It's did done. The work. It's out there. And you can't spend your mental energy trying to assess what every single person thinks about it. It's like that little piece I put on social media of me singing "Glimpse of Us" by Joji, by the way. Controversial statement, Joji album greater than Drake and 21 Savage's album, right? Drake and 21 Savage are just talking shit again on another album. Nothing meaningful there whatsoever. Donda's still the best rap album to come out in the last 2 years. I'm going all the way Pusha T. It's almost dry for the Grammy win, by the way, in hip hop. But once you gave me the internet muscles to like and bravery to put that out, then I just did it. And I haven't looked back at it. I liked your comment, and then I think maybe Cookie McCrae's, and that just like moved on. Because I don't, at this point, I'm just going to do the next thing, right? Like, so I get that part of it. But what I really hate is I think that RogerEbert.com's review was false. And look, and like not false because it's wrong, but false because on purpose, like gaslighting us.
Yeah.
Like they're driving revenues to Black Adam, and people are not going to see an 88 film. Yeah. Yeah. That's what frustrates me the most. And look, full transparency. There's a game that gets played. When you make a film, you call your friends that are movie critics and you ask them to write you a favorable review. Instead of going to unknown critics, because why? The first thing they're going to ask you is to send them a screener. And what a producer doesn't want to do is send a screener into the wild and not know what that person's going to write about your movie, because you are teetering on a margin that's so slim that if you get a couple of bad reviews due to your screener, right, it's all your fault if you made a bad movie, but you're teetering on this place where it's like, okay, if they write a bad review, we're not going to make any money. No one's going to watch this at all. They're going to like bypass it. It's too competitive. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to be a hypocrite because that stuff does happen. But in the major studio world, I think just writing, like Brandon Hirsch said it best. He's an actor, friend of the podcast. He said, not all money is good money. And if RogerEbert.com,
what a fucking mouthful.
Not accusing them, but if they did, or if any critic takes money to write a review, they should have a disclaimer. They should say this was a paid review, like even in the small print somewhere, because they have so much power, they're going to drive revenue to the film. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, let's bring Papa Bear back in.
I'm glad to be back. Where did I go?
All right. We have a very solid list of potential answers for you. And every time I say one that's right, I want you to say ding, ding, ding.
Okay.
Oh boy, okay. The silence is going to be deafening.
All right. Antonio Banderas. Okay. Jeff Bezos. Okay. Richard Branson.
Let me give my own disclaimer. Okay. I have my list, and it's not exhaustive of the world's celebrities. So it could be, I'll have to research it, but as a celebrity, he is not listed. How's that?
Okay.
Why would he bother with such trivial tasks?
He has a penis-shaped rocket.
Yeah, he's a cowboy.
Yeah, but he doesn't drive it.
Yeah, I guess not. It's his penis, though. He molded it after his own junk.
Yeah. Well, no, it was molded after his head.
Okay. Well, I always say like his products always look like a phallic symbol, right? Like that Amazon arrow, that's just a curvy penis. And then the rocket is just kind of a stubby penis, right? Everything Bezos makes is penis shaped. There's something there. Think about it.
What about SpaceX?
SpaceX isn't owned by Jeff Bezos. Therefore, they don't make their rockets penis shaped.
Well, it's kind of got that shape.
Well, an obelisk could be a penis, but it's not. It doesn't have the ridges. This is what Bezos does. He puts the ridges on the obelisk.
If women were in charge, we would have found out already. We will eventually find out that the vagina shape actually is the most aerodynamic. So
there you go.
That would be great. A vagina rocket. Okay, I'm going to write that down. That's a good idea
for just sauce.
I don't know how I'm going to use vagina rocket in the future, but I am going to use it. So I'm writing that down. Okay. Sean Connery.
Certainly a landing pad.
Yes. You get a landing pad for Jeff Bezos's penis-shaped rocket. Yeah. This is perfect. Okay.
That's my 20s, Papa Bear. Landing pad. Okay, sorry.
Okay, Sean Connery? No?
No, but he did get third place in Mr. Universe in 1953.
Damn, that's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll win $1 million for answering that one day, Jess. Ron Howard?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
I believed in Ron Howard.
Me too.
Brad Pitt?
Ding, ding, ding.
Bang, biscuit. Tom Hanks?
Oh, God. Oh.
No?
No.
Okay, we got Brad Pitt. We got one of the 5. What are the other 4, PB?
There, you did get close. There is the black pilot, Morgan Freeman.
Damn it. I was going to say that.
Like a Twinkie.
And along with Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie.
Oh, of course, Angelina. My baby.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who else?
Clint Eastwood.
Grandpa.
Kurt
That can't be
Russell?
safe, by the way. What is he, 97?
No.
Kurt
Yeah.
Russell.
Kurt Russell. They're all up there, aren't they?
Kurt Russell's underrated. All right.
Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid seems like a pilot guy.
This is, yes, we were like adjacent in a lot of these.
Yeah. We were like just left or just right of the correct answer.
Yeah.
Papa Bear, thank you. We appreciate it. And Jess, I appreciate you. This has been an absolute blast.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I've had so much fun. I hope I'm just not like rambling the whole time.
I think we were both rambling, but we had fun doing it. It was great. And I hope this audience enjoyed it too. And I hope you'll come back and do it with us one more time. Can you tell everybody where they can kind of find you on social media, on the internet, see anything that you've done, stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Instagram. It's at Gestation is my handle. It's JESSTATION. It's the best joke I've ever had. The only great joke I've ever had. And and then my buddy and I, Josh Anakalia, he's an extremely talented writer, comedian, actor. So wonderful. He and I are, we made this series quite a few years ago now, but we have it online. It's called Oil and Martyr. So like oil, oil and water, but it's martyr as in marriage. So, so we have that series online at oilandmartyr.com, and it's a fun, I'm very proud of that, even though it's a few years old now, but if you want to check it out, you're more than welcome to check it out online.
I've watched every episode, and several of them were directed by my good buddy and friend of the podcast, Ted Welch. And so Ted.
Shout out to Ted Welch.
Yeah, shout out to Teddy. He's been on the podcast twice, and he did a mistake in the making recently that everyone should listen to. And if you want to know more about Bonsai and the Make It podcast, you can find us on social media at _Bonsai Creative. That's on Twitter. That's on Instagram, on TikTok and Facebook. You can just search for Bonsai Creative and we will come right up. Same thing with LinkedIn, by the way, if you happen to be on LinkedIn, like if you're a professional listening to this. You can also just go to bonsai.film, so www.bonsai.film, to find out everything from our services to the podcast, what we do in branding and marketing, what we're doing in the philanthropic space with our fiscal sponsorship. And you can sign up for our bi-weekly newsletter, Indie Insights, which we have one of those dropping tomorrow. It's really easy. It's bonsai.film/subscribe. You can also just find the newsletter on the website and sign up. Don't worry, it's free. We don't spam you. We don't sell your information. And it's easy to sort of unjoin or unsubscribe if it's not your jam. So we just want you to be happy and provide you with the resource. And this week, since Nick isn't here, I will provide us with the credo: be better, be creative, be engaged. Thank you for listening. And Jess, I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Anytime. Had so much fun. Be good.
Thank you.
Bye.